I'd like to welcome you guys all to this clinic. My name is Shawn Cox. I'm a PGA professional like many of you. Phil Rodgers here. I've gotten to know Phil. I work at La Jolla Country Club, and Phil Rodgers is a member there. Phil Rodgers grew up playing at La Jolla Country Club. He worked with Paul Runyon, who many of you may know, a legend short game teacher. Phil was an NCAA champion at the University of Houston. Phil won 6 times on the PGA Tour and on the Senior Tour.
Not on the Senior Tour.
I thought you won on the Senior Tour.
No.
He played a lot with Jack Nicklaus. Jack Nicklaus came to him in the 80s and said, I need help with my short game. And Phil helped Jack Nicklaus with his short game. Phil's going to concentrate mainly on short game today. Hopefully we can talk him into doing this again some point to talk about full swing. He teaches a few tour players, of which one was 5th in greens and regulation last year, Jeff Breho on the PGA Tour, and Jeff Gove, who's a single season nationwide greens and regulation holder at 74.5% greens and regulation. So he knows a lot about the full swing, as I've noticed, but we're going to concentrate mainly on short game today. I'm going to turn the time over to Phil Rodgers.
Thank you very much. I obviously don't know very much about putting because both of them, either one of my tour players or the ones that I coach would just be in double digits in the stats in putting. They would be multi-millionaires by now. They average about 160 in putting, which is terrible. But they can hit all the greens. But and my philosophy is, and sorry if I've got to silence all that, and if I have to excuse myself, I will, but I can't hardly hear myself anyway. That's probably better. But my philosophy in golf has always been, that in order to be a great player, you have to be able to finish each hole. And so, in my estimation, the 2 most important shots in playing golf on each hole are the last 2 shots that you have, unless you make a hole-in-one. But that's the only time that it doesn't get to the last 2 shots. It's the shot that gets you in the position to make your last shot count. So, not everybody hits every green, but the person that makes the least amount of bogeys, and a lot of times you make a round by making a great save with your short game. That's the real important key. So I try to concentrate with with the people that I coach. I try to concentrate on trying to teach them how to play, how to score. And the best way that I can put it is that scoring is putting your ball in the correct position. It's not just the last 2 shots. It's putting yourself in the best position to make your next shot, period. You don't have to be a rocket scientist. I went to the University of Houston. I did not go to NASA. There's a big difference in the University of Houston and NASA or Rice. So all you had to do in order to be able to make the team at Houston was not be able to count to higher than 5. If you counted higher than 5, you weren't on the team. So I like to keep it simple, but there are certain things that you need to have to be a success in this area. Number 1 is you have to be able to see the shot. You got to see the circumstances. You got to be able to visualize the shot, where I want the ball to land, where I want it to end up. I don't always use the hole. I use a radius around the hole, and a lot of times if the slope is tilted, the center of my radius will always be on the low side of that hole. It's not whether I can put the ball in, it's whether I don't ever have to waste anything by getting down in 3 or 4, because that leaves a bad taste in your mouth going to the next hole. But by managing yourself properly, then you're going to give yourself the best opportunity on your next shot. I mean, people say, well, I hit the ball 4 feet from the pin, 5 feet from the pin, but every time they do it, they're on the wrong side. So they make a quarter of them instead of 3/4 of them. And that's a big thing. Now, there isn't a lot of slope on this green, but if I was picking out a target from this pin here, it would be pretty central, where the pin would be pretty much the middle of my radius. But if I missed, I would just as soon be a foot on the short side as 3 feet on the long side. So my radius might be a few inches on this side, but if the green's tilted or something like that, the center of the radius, and I'll be talking about the radius a little bit as we go along, but effectively the radius for these kind of shots here, my goal and my students' goal are to see how many that we can get into 10%. 10% of my distance to the hole is my radius. And that's a lot more stringent than a lot of people that teach the short game. They give you 15 or 20%, which is pitiful. There's no reason to ever have to be that far from the hole. If you know what you're doing at all, you should be able to get a reasonable percentage of your balls inside that 10% radius. I've probably given 100,000 golf lessons or more, and most of them have been to beginners and higher handicappers. And by the time they finish, they can't believe how much better they are by just understanding what they're supposed to do before they try to do it. So that's what I'm going to go through. So it's see the shot, feel the shot, rehearse the shot, do the shot. And if you follow those 4 points there, you're going to be in good shape. Now, when I'm using the green, I mean, I could have several opportunities here, and a lot of times this area is even smooth, and you see people putting from the fringe. But I had the opportunity to play with Nicholas in a almost all the way through his entire career, and I could never beat him in the long game, but I could always beat him in the short game. Simply because when he got this far off the green, he had the putter out. Now, if you're an extremely high handicapper, just to contradict that story, in the old days when it used to be the Crosby, there was a professional by the name of Al Besselin. Bessie was a good player. He was crazy, but he was a good player. And he knew how to manage his ball. And his partner was Don Drysdale, the great Hall of Fame pitcher. And Drys had the worst short game of all time. So Bessie told him, wherever you are, anytime you're within 50 yards, the only club that ever comes out of your bag is the putter. Because and he said, I don't care if you get down at 4. And he said, I just want you to try to get down at 3 with a possibility, or 4 at the maximum. I don't ever want you don't ever have to get down at 2. Just get it up there somewhere where you can play the next shot. And that again goes back a little bit to my premise where you have the situation is such that in almost every shot you have reason that you missed the green is you probably hit a poor shot, and you never want to compound your problems. So the philosophy should always be to get down in 3 with a possibility of getting down in 2. If you get down in 3 every time, you're way ahead of the game. And then you get to keep all the ones you get down in 2. But the first thing that you want to do is you want to get yourself out of trouble. Then you want to get yourself on the green. And then you want to get yourself close. There are many times when you can't shoot at the hole or you don't want to shoot at the hole. And because it's just an impossible shot. You're going to leave yourself in the least advantageous place for your next shot. So you see a lot of players, especially in the smaller greens like Riviera, where they don't always hit that ball right at the pin. They hit it over to the side a little bit. Right? Like, you know, when Couples hit his ball over there on 16 yesterday, where he was, you know, out of the bunker, he just had to put his ball in the middle of the green. That's the best he could do, and hopefully he could make a 15-footer. But he was not ever compromising his ability to make a 4. He was giving himself a 4 with a possibility of a 3. You never know when you're going to make a nice putt. So those are that's kind of the management part of golf. I remember when I was a young boy, 15 years old, and Paul Runyon first came to La Jolla, and in 2 weeks he lowered my score by approximately 2 shots a day per round. And all he did was tell me what to do on every one of these shots and why, so that I understood it, and to not ever try to do anything stupid, and give yourself the best opportunity. And he was the most calculated of players. All the players today, there's still nobody that calculates any more than he does. He couldn't do it. It was impossible. Today we play by yardage. We used to play by sight and feel. But where is yardage most important? Off the tee, to the green, or around the green? That's a question. Somebody has to answer that. Does anybody here have an idea? Nobody has an idea. Huh?
To the green.
To the green? Well, that's more important than off the tee. The closer you get to the hole, you know, when you're hitting a driver off the tee, you're shooting a 30-yard wide fairway. Anywhere in that fairway is all right. If you're really good, you can cut that fairway in half or a third. If you're a tour driver, you can cut that fairway in maybe a third and hit it in there 3 out of 4 times. But, so you're shooting into a 20-yard area or 25-yard area. When you're shooting into a green, you've got an area or plateau that you're trying to put your ball in that's maybe 15 or 20-foot radius. You get it in that area, you're doing a good job. You get 50 yards from the green, what's happening? You're trying to get it closer, aren't you? So you're narrowing it. So, and then when I get down to putting, how close is it? Fractions of inches, millimeters. So distance is more important as you get to the hole. Not less important. All the sprinklers and all the measurements are all over the golf course out there. There's none around the green. That's why most people have higher handicaps than their actual golf handicap in the short game. It's because they don't know how far it is. They don't know what the situation should dictate, and they're just out there guessing. When you're out on the golf, you don't guess anymore. There's no guessing anymore. It's all there. These guys have range finders. They even have elevation things. They have levels that they put on the greens now. It's gone so high tech that it's all, you know, you're like a robot out there playing. But the most important part of it is still distance and distance control. So if I'm this far from the hole and I say, okay, how far am I from this ball to that hole there? Now, I brought a little bit of money with me today just in case Shawn wanted to try to rob me. But how many people know how far it is from here to this hole?
15 yards.
13 yards.
Huh? 15, 13, 20? Would anybody like to wager? I don't see anybody volunteer. Yes, you would?
Yeah.
How far do you think you are?
47 feet.
47 feet. Did you measure this?
Yeah.
I didn't think so. You're gonna lose.
I'll bet you a penny then.
No. I don't do that for copper. Paper. Paper. All right, so I'm gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12,
13 yards. 39 feet. You said 13. You said
13 paces is 39 feet. Somebody got lucky and said 13. But if we do that 50 times, Shawn already knows this, so but if you do this 50 times, nobody will come close. I've done this for over 50 years, and I still measure it. I can come almost perfect. I can visualize the shot every time, but I want to know that because the more precise I am with that yardage, the better chance I have to get it close. So I have 2 or 3 opportunities here to hit this shot, like I said. The first one would be to carry the ball a minimum length onto the putting surface, and I call the minimum length from a foot or 18 inches or so to 4 or 5 feet on the green. And mostly my philosophy is that I want to carry the ball as short as possible in the air and make it roll as much as possible. You hear that all over now. That's what everybody talks about. But more people are doing it now than ever before also. But now, I have also a couple other options. This is uphill. This is not real smooth right here, so maybe I want to make a choice and carry over there up here where it's more level, number 1, and smoother, number 2. So picking out your landing area is very important. Picking out your landing area makes a difference in which club that you select. So what I do here is 1, 2, 3. All right, that's 9. I got 3, and then I got 10 left to that hole. I have a kind of a quasi formula that Mr. Runyon developed, and what it is that I have several clubs that I hit with. How many people here use one club or more than one club to chip or pitch with? One club. Why do you use the one club?
More than one.
More than one, okay. Well, there's a lot of people that use one club. Why do they use that one club? Because they know what they can do with that club. Well, if I have 5 or 6 clubs and I know what I can do with each of those clubs, and you got one, who's going to win? I am. I got more toys. That's the most important. That's the second most important thing in life is having a lot of toys. So the more toys you have here, the better you're gonna go. So I know that if I hit this shot here, that I can carry my ball many different elevations and many different rolls. So I can make the ball do whatever with a 60-degree wedge. But if I take a pitching wedge out like this, I know that if I hit this shot, I hit this ball about 1/3 of the way in the air, it's going to go 2/3 of the way on the ground. So 1 part in the air, two parts on the ground. If I use a 9-iron, it's going to be approximately 1/4 of the way. That's where I hit the ball 25% of the way and it rolls 75%. 8-iron is my favorite club because that's a 5th. Nobody's gotten that yet. It's too early.
Yeah.
I have a 5th wine a day. So, that's my 8-iron is my favorite club. So if I had a club, what club would I use? The 8-iron. So, but that carries 20% and rolls 80%. And then the 7-iron goes a 1/5 of the way or one part plus 5 parts on the ground, and the 6-iron goes 1 part plus 6 parts. Now that's pretty much for average pace greens, around 9 on the step meter. If your greens are faster, if you're going up or down, then you have to add or subtract. But if you have something to start with, you're going to do well. So if you can take your people when you're teaching them and teach them to be more precise in their preparation by, number one, knowing what the distance is, number two, knowing that if I hit the ball there, with each one of those clubs, the ball will go up there. Now, I can't really, because this is going uphill and I'm going steeply uphill here. So if I carried a pitching wedge up there, I'd probably have to carry the pitching wedge a little bit more, but I got 39 feet, so divided by 3, that's 27 or 28, something like that, 26. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4, like right in here. So if I carry my shot right there, this ball is going to be pretty close to the hole. Now it'll be a little bit short. Well, where'd that ball land though? Right on the. I hit the piece of dirt and I put down there. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. The other thing that I like to impress on people is that you always call a shot after you hit it, never before. Now, say I wanted to take an 8-iron, and I took an 8-iron, and I hit this ball in the same place. I hit that shot just as well as I hit the one before, but now I'm 12 feet or 15 feet by the hole. I've hit a perfect shot, but I've used the wrong club. So your shot preparation is the key to success in this green, around the green. You watch Tiger Woods play, he has a lot of shots. He's got 100 different shots, but he knows when to play each one of them. He never plays the one that's the most difficult. He always plays the one that's not always the easiest either. He plays it the right one. That's what we're after. So that's pretty, I can't hit that ball. Now I take my 60 degree out. Now my 60 degree, I'm gonna have to carry it way up there. I give myself 3 or 4 tries at all times. But now, one of the things that I want to try to impress on you is the distance varied in each one of those shots. What about the direction? The direction was pretty good all the time. So what's the easiest to obtain? That's right. People are always worried about hitting it straight. If you hit the ball solid, then you're going to have both things, because if you hit the ball solid, you're going to have distance and direction. But distance is your primary goal, because I hit 3 shots there that aren't anywhere near where they should be. I hit every single one of those shots right in the middle of the club. I hit them all perfect, and they're all straight, but only 2 of them are the right distance. So I wasted that. So getting the distance down is very, very important. Knowing what club to use in the correct situation, so that the ball, you have the best opportunity to get it up there in that area. The better you're gonna do. So that's also very important. At this moment, I've pretty much ended this part of the deal. So I want anybody to ask questions if they have any questions on what I've talked about right now. Yes, sir. Done.
I read that Jack Nicklaus kind of had a preferred club for chipping it. Is that true, or did he use a variety?
He used to. preferred club though is the club that I want to use. Under most, I tried to teach him how to chip. It's the only thing that I couldn't do. He was impossible. He still can't chip. And you know, when he first started out playing, he didn't have to chip or pitch because he hit the ball farther and as straight as anybody did. He was the longest, straightest driver of his time. Much straighter than the drivers today that drive it a long ways. But Jack understood what to do with all these wedge shots. He was very good. I went down. He called me in 1980, and he was playing in the LA Open, and he played with San Diego boy here, John Schroeder. John was a friend or is a friend, and helped him with his game a little bit. And he said, "Well, why don't you call Phil?" And so he called me and he said, "John Schroeder once told me to give you a call." He said, I want to, you know, I need to improve my short game. He says, "I can't hit the ball as far as I used to," and he says, "I'm losing some of it. I need more game." And I said, "Well, that's I can understand that." And he said, "I want you to come down and stay at the house for a couple of days and work on it with me." And I said, "That's great." So I went down there, and first of all, he's got they have these rankings, mobile 4, 3, 4, 5-star hotels and all that stuff. But his hotel is a mobile 7-star. He's got 4 boats, 3 tennis courts, 4 tennis courts, putting green, everything that you would imagine for toys that you'd want. I mean, it's beautiful. You go in there for dinner and you have stone crab, swordfish, whatever. I mean, everything is top notch. So I've been there a couple times, but I'd never had the opportunity to stay there over a couple days. It ended up that I stayed there for 2.5 weeks. So that's a long time to stay at somebody's house. You very rarely don't wear out your welcome after a couple of 3 days. I mean, if you have in-laws or something like that, you understand that. So, but I was down there for that period of time. We played in a couple tournaments, and we worked on a lot of shots. And basically, what supposedly it's called a flop shot. That's not necessarily true. But showed him how to do all these different things, and he really had, he played golf one way all the time. Looked like it was very methodical, but he had a great imagination, and so he got to see these shots. And so after doing that, he was playing in the Open at Baltusrol and in 1980, and on the 18th hole, he hit this shot to the left of the green on the par 5 over there, and he was in the grass like this, no shot. Rossi said, Bob Rosberg, Rossi's famous for no chance, no possibility of making this shot. And he hit it up there, and he flopped out, he hit it about like that. And that was the shot that he said that really won him the tournament. And the later that year, he went to Oak Hills in Rochester, and he won the PGA that year. And the second round, I believe it was the second round, either the second round or third round, he had like 9 greens or 8 greens and shot 69. Shot 3 under par, and the short game won him that tournament there. But basically, all I'm trying to do, what I tried to do with him, and what I'll try to get you all to do, is to use your imagination, stimulate your imagination here a little bit, and try to visualize the shot as much as you can, concentrate it. The thing that I did with Jack was, when he had a shot, he says, "I know I have this shot. I know how to play this shot." And the ability to commit to it is the biggest thing. If you don't have the ability to commit to it, don't try it. because you'll fail, and then the next time you get in that situation, you won't try it either. So you either do something that you can believe in, or or you don't. But the most important thing is most people have the ability to do much better. My philosophy is that not everybody can drive the ball as far as J.B. Holmes or Tiger Woods or V.J. Singh, but everybody can do this. This is within everybody's realm. This is not about power. This is about controlling power. So the idea here is to get this so you can control your power. Are there any questions so far? Yes, sir.
I wanted to see if you could go back to a minute. Earlier you said something about putting from off of here, and then you kind of got off of it for a second, but it sounded like you weren't a big fan of it.
I'm not. That's why I got off of it. Like I said, this is the only part of the game that I could beat Nicklaus in, because he took his putter out 99 times out of 100 from here. And he's trying, he's off on his speed all the time, because you go through 2 or 3 different lengths of grass. There's no way that you can judge the speed. I can judge the speed on that almost every single time, because the putting green should be the best kept part of the course. It should be the most consistent, and you should as a result of that know a lot more about how the ball is going to react, or how fast it's going to roll, whether it rolls uphill, downhill, side hill, or whatever. I do not believe in putting. I feel, Ray Floyd is a good friend of mine. Ray Floyd will chip from this far off the green. Why does he chip from here? Because he knows that ball is going to come out just like a putt, and it's going just like a putt. I'll show you that in a few minutes. But when you listen to the TV announcers and even the players, when they talk about Raymond, they're a lot more afraid of him chipping in than they are putting in. So you turn a negative situation by using this putter into a positive situation by chipping. So if you see somebody with a putter, then you probably want to keep their phone number in there, because sometimes they're going to get in a situation you're going to need a little extra cash, and you keep those people's phone number in case you need a little extra cash, because you're going to win. But it's such a golf is an extremely mental game. It's a lot more mental than it is physical. And if I can make a negative into a positive, I'm going to be way ahead.
Well, the reason why I asked is I teach a lot of guys that aren't good around here, and I try to get them to at least get it in a position where they can make the next shot or whatever. And I'm just playing with this guy last week, and his ball's that far off the green, just like you're talking about, and the pin's only about maybe 8 feet away, and he's got a lob wedge trying to hit some kind of shot. He just barely gets it on the green, and I'm telling him if he takes his putter every single time, he's going to be within a foot.
Well, I'd be willing to bet on that, but he probably get it closer. But when I learned the short game, and when I learned from running, I'm not trying to praise anybody or slam anybody, but Dave Pell supposedly has all these statistics. I had more statistics at 15 years old than he's got now. His running, everything that he did was there. Now, he did everything in units of 100. He didn't maybe do them in the thousands like Pels has. Pels has just kept records. Running, if it worked in 100, it was fine. It was gonna show up. So what he did is the percentage of getting down in 2 is what you're after. You want to be able to raise your percentage of getting down in 2. And if you play a ridiculously hard shot with the most difficult way, you're gonna have great results or not so good a result. And yes, if you're trying to get them up there where they're gonna not get down in 4 or dump it or do something like that, then that's fine. But I gave a playing lesson one time to a man who had a 36 handicap, and the first hole was par 4, and he hit it right down in front of the green, and I didn't say anything to him, and he batted it around, and he got down at 4 from the edge of the green, made a 6, and he was all mad. He was ready to quit already. I said, "What's your handicap?" He says, 36. I said, "What's par?" He says, 4. "No, it's not. Par is 6. You made a par. You got a net par. That's as poorly as you could do, but you got a net par." And so I said, "I want you to play every hole according to your handicap. Par is 2 over." He made 8 holes under par, 5 holes even par, and only 5 holes over par. So he shot the lowest score he ever shot in his life in a mental score. And usually it's match play by just having him do that, and it took all the pressure off of him. So if you can impress that on people, that really has a tendency towards helping. Now you see pros that make these miraculous shots. You see Tiger Woods make miraculous shots every week on TV. That's because he practices and practices and practices. People that don't practice them, they don't necessarily do that. But the putter is a safe way to maybe get down at 3 every time. Like I was telling the story about Don Drysdale. He made him use a putter because he couldn't. He'd dump it. He'd go 3 or 4 feet at a time. I've had guys that shake it all the way around the green before. So it's in your best interest. But maybe that shot was really hard for him at the time. But and maybe he wasn't selecting that wasn't his correct shot. If he had an adequate surface here and he could get the ball there, but to go as far as from here to there, or far as to go from here up to that other hole and try to do that, it won't work. Not nearly as frequently. But again, yes. My formula is, it's not really a formula. It's guidelines. Number one, but basically what it is the pitching wedge goes 1/3 of the way and rolls 2/3, and a 9-iron is 1/4 of the way, 3/4. 8-iron is a 1/5 of the way, 20%. And then the 7 is a 1/6 of the way, and the 6 is a 1/7 of the way. Now there's 2 or 3 ways to explain it, and I have a couple of girls here, Christy and Charlotte. Do you like to shop? You don't like to shop. You don't like to shop either. Well, then you don't need to hear this story. But what I do to a lot of women, especially women that are play at the country club, they like to shop. So I'd say, okay, pitching wedge is 1/3 off sale. 9-iron is 25% off sale, and 8-iron is not as good a deal because it's only 20% off. See, and they understand that right away because a lot of them don't understand math. And then the other way is, in case you run into somebody that's a math guy, he doesn't understand the formula. Every one of these clubs is basically adds up to 12. Pitching wedge, if you make a pitching wedge of 10, it goes 2 parts on the ground, that's 12. The 9-iron goes 3 parts on the ground, that's 12. An 8-iron goes 4 parts on the ground, that's 8 and 4 is 12. But all those go down to become a factor of 12. So that's another way to explain it. You want to try to. The hardest thing in teaching is being able to get your point across, so that the person understands you, not that they have to understand. You want to be talking to them in a way that they can understand. So that's important. Now, so did you get it? Is that right for you, Scott? Huh?
Sales stuff like that.
Yeah, that's good. Sales is part of it. I mean, what are you doing when you're teaching? You're selling something. So, the one thing about teaching that I've found is that without being bossy, if you're authority, if you do it with authority, people are going to honor it, they're going to respect you. Well, maybe you ought to try this. They don't pay attention. So be positive about it, and this is a way to be positive. If you give those numbers out, those are you can present those almost as absolutes. So it makes them realize that. Actually, when I teach this, the women are the best at this, at the chipping. They're better than men almost every time because they're used to rocking their kids to sleep, so they got the nice rhythm. But we'll get into the technique here in a minute. Any other questions?
So just real quick, when did you start, or when were you introduced to golf? Was it prior to meeting Paul
I
Rodgers?
was 8 years old when I started.
Were you introduced in the short game?
I was born and raised at Presidio Hills. So
Good spot.
it wasn't a short game for me, it was a long course for me when I first started. I hit a, 90 yard, now I'm reverting back to that. I have a lot of clubs in here. I got about 20 clubs in here, and they all go the same distance. Sometimes this wedge goes farther than my driver. But I learned that was a big advantage. There were a lot of great players that learned from Al Abrego and his son Don through the history of Presidio Hills. And Littler, Casper, Mickey Wright, all those guys. All those people used to go down there and play a lot. Mike Riley, that's where he learned how to play golf. So, in a way, starting out kids, if you can contain them early enough and make them pay attention to the short game, they end up picking up the golf a lot better than just going out there and hitting drivers as hard as they can. Golf has changed astronomically now. It's not A to B to C anymore. It's A to Z as far as I can hit it. I don't care if I find it or not. Still, I think I think you'll still see the players that hit the fairway the most are for the most part, still doing the best job. But now let's go into the technique here. All right, I have two shots. I have what I call the pitch shot and the chip shot. And they're two entirely different ball positions, setups, everything. I believe very strongly all the way through the game, from putting all the way to driving. Starting position is the single most important thing that you can get, the ball position. Ball position is the right distance away from your feet. It's in the right position in relation to your feet. I believe that golf is played in parallel lines and right angles. If I make the swing go parallel to the target like this, if I was going to see that, I told you were in danger. You didn't realize I could hit it that way, did you? If I was going to toss a ball to you, Shawn, where would I swing my hand? Right towards him, right? Where was my hand pointed? Right towards him. All right. Now my hand becomes the face of the club. So if I had the face of the club pointed at the target and I swing towards the target, every ball is going to go like that on the line. So I want the swing to be on a parallel line to the target, and I want the club face to be perpendicular to the target. That's pretty elementary, but in reality, a lot of times it's harder than that because people are always trying to manipulate the face. The more I have the face offline, the more of an adjustment I have to make in my swing, and I don't think that that's necessary. What I do to change the elevation and the spin on the ball is to change my address position in relation to the ball. All the balls that I play with this club here, 60 degree, my most lofted club, I play off of between the arch of my foot and my left heel. Why is that? Where do most people say to play the ball on a pitch shot? Okay. Now, so if I put my ball off my back foot and I make a natural swing with the ball, where did I hit the ground? Right here. Where is that? What's the fulcrum of your swing? If you're right-handed, if you're Shawn Cox, no hands, any hand, but your left shoulder is in your left arm where your fulcrum point. So when I swing the club, where's that club hitting the ground? Right there. So if I put the ball back there, I have to adjust in order to make contact with the ball. Everybody says you want to hit down on the ball. I don't want to hit down on the ball. I want to hit underneath the ball. That's the biggest key. The other thing about hitting underneath the ball is that you can use the flange. This flange is designed to help you, not to hinder you. If you hit the bottom of the club on the ground, that club's going to skid right on along the ground just like that. It's never going to cut up the ground. Or if I hit it like this, it'll take a divot. And if I hit it like that and I miss hit the ball by half an inch, where's the ball going? Nowhere. Being right in front of me. So I'm not saying that you don't have shots where you play the ball back. I chip with the ball way back. Probably farther back than most people do. But I believe in pitching the ball where the natural bottom of the swing is on the target. Now, also the swing has a pitch. I was going to have Shawn bring over the arc thing, but the swing goes in a circle like this. So the swing is going inside out. Well, if the ball's back here, where's my swing naturally going? To the right. So what do I have to do? You know, I got to adjust the face, and then I get a phony shot, or I have to turn around and I make a swing over here, way over to the left, so that I get the swing going at the target. But the most important thing is to get so that you can strike the ball with the club striking underneath it. So when I hit it, I hit the ball like that, where the club just slides right underneath the ball, goes up there at natural height. And my weight's approximately 50-50. My heels are approximately 3 to 4 inches apart. Now, I do this exactly the opposite. This is the way I think it should be done. This is not necessarily the way it is done all the time. But when you're hitting a driver, what do you want to get full power? What happens to your stance? You know, you got it wider, you got a good base, you try to wind up your body against each other. Like in the full swing, your lower body from your knees to your ankles may move 10 degrees. Then from the knees to the hips, 20 degrees. From your hips to the rib cage, 40 degrees, and then the back and then the shoulders, 80 degrees. So you're winding up that spring. And you don't want that in the short game. You want exactly the opposite. Because what you're trying to do is build up tension in the full swing, and here you want no tension. So if I'm hitting this shot, that's full firm. That's good. Oh, that's real good. That's good. That's it. That's what you hold on to the club lightly. You let the club do the work for you. The less tension you create in your upper body, the better you're going to be. The reason that most people, probably your person over there, that you were talking to, they're so tight because they're so stiff with their lower body that they just move like this. So they don't have the boogie with their feet, legs, and hips. The more I move my feet, legs, and hips, the better I'm going to be at the short game. The less I move this, the less tension I create. Instead of getting all tight there, now I'm nice and loose. So I'm nice and soft, and my arms are always loose, so the club is just more or less doing the job. So the thing that I want is number one, to be as natural as I can be, to where my setup, my stance is always going to be slightly open. The normal amount of stance is 3 to 4 inches, and the way to measure that is from here to here on your shoe, unless you're a size 25 shoe. It's going to be about 3 to 4 inches, so that your left foot is pulled back off the target line slightly, and your left toe is turned out to the target and your right foot is perpendicular to the target. Excuse me. Why do I have my body in that position? Because when you take a dress and with a full swing, you start out, everything's more or less facing the ball. When you come into the ball, you got a huge separation here between your lower body and your upper body. Your lower body's pulling your upper body through. I don't have the speed or the size of the swing on these shots to promote that much motion. So the person that stands here square like this then has a tendency, moves too much to the inside, and then you move around like this because you can't get your lower body through. What I want you to do is to preset your body in effectively the impact position. Lower body being your feet, knees, and hips. You notice I never talk about my belt. The last time I saw my belt was about 45 years ago when I was in boot camp in the Marine Corps. But everything, I do talk about the belt buckle. I want the belt buckle facing to the left. I want everything facing to the left over here like this. When I strike the ball, I'm in that position. When I start out, I can make a little move, but it's very easy to get back in that position so that my shoulders don't overpower the shot. So when my shoulders and arms start tensing up and trying to overpower the shot, you're going to have a problem. Now, the other reason is that tossing the ball to someone, where am I? I'm facing you. And not this way. If I was over here, you wouldn't do that. So one of the things that I start out people, I'm doing schools and stuff like that, is I get them all out there and I say, okay, toss me a ball. You'd be surprised how many people cannot toss a ball to you. They'll miss you by 4 or 5 feet. Because they go like they don't have a rhythm to it. And if I stand there like this and I do that, you can read that every time. You knew what speed that ball was coming, where it was coming every time. If I stand here like that, it doesn't work. So it's a lot like being a pitcher in baseball. Pitcher in baseball, the top pitchers, what is their motion on all the different kinds of pitches? Exactly the same. So it's much harder to read what's coming at you. You have to be able to pick up the spin on the baseball in order to tell it. But if you had it, so the more rhythm you can get, the more natural motion you can make the swing back and forth towards the target and keep the ball. Now, see, there's a poor shot. I bladed it, but it was still absolutely straight because my swing was going there and the face was at the target. Now, I'm going to use this stripe here and say, well, I like to cut the ball. I disagree with that under most circumstances. I think that underspin is the fastest way to stop the ball, not side spin. And it's also the most accurate way to control the trajectory and the distance, is to have direct underspin. So if I had direct underspin, I get the same trajectory all the time, I get the same distance more times. So when I hit this shot, I'm going to swing stripes. See, stripes are right straight, and the stripes are rolling right over there. So that's what we're trying to do. Now, there are times when you need to cut the ball. Most of the time, those situations come from lies. If the ball is below my feet, it's going to deflect to the right. If it's above, it's going to go to the left or right. But there's no reason to have to. I mean, I can sit there like this, lay the face open, and make a big swing like that. See, how did that ball spin? It's still right directly underneath, wasn't it? So, but that's a much harder shot. It's also the most crooked shot that I hit. So I wasn't trying to hit it crooked, but it just went crooked. So effectively what I try to do is try to get the swing to go straight back and straight through. So I do this here. or you can do it with a white line. You know, if your green superintendent doesn't hate you for painting white lines out there. We do our golf schools, we do it all with lines. But basically what I do is I start out, I take my setup, weights 50-50, facing left, shoulders facing the ball, chest facing the ball, sternum slightly behind it. Every shot that I play is between the left side of my face and the inside of my left shoulder, or my front shoulder. So every one that I play is right there. Now, what I try to do is when I swing back, where's the shaft pointed? Right at the ball. Where's it pointed? Right at the ball. But where's the club? It's inside the line a little bit, isn't it? But if I extended the shaft, it would continue into infinity, right over there. And when I swing forward, it comes right down to there, right down to there, right there, right there, right there. If I do that, if I swing up and down that line, that ball's going to go on that line every time. The more you can make that line move straight, the better off you're going to do. But your body being preset in the correct position is the thing that allows that to happen. Because if I stood up square and I swung, where's my club now? If I turn this over, where's it now? It's on the target. The swing is always around your body. But by starting out with your body in the correct position, then your swing goes in a straight line. And that's a really important key. So when I'm here like this, I'm trying to hit this shot. I'm trying to get the shaft straight up, the face right at the target. In my teaching, I use 12 o'clock, 12:30, 1 o'clock, 1:30, 2 o'clock, or the opposite for the club face. Call it dialing in the club face. When you do that again, that becomes more or less, that's a positive that you're trying to promote there. So where do I want my club face on this shot here? Between 12 and 12:30 at all times, because I don't ever want to come in close. So I walk into people and to answer your question about the ball being back. So they stand here like this, they have their hands forward. Where's the face pointed? Right at the target, right? Okay, now, well, where's my shaft pointed? Way out to the right. Now, so I hit this ball and I return it. Where's the face pointed? To the left, isn't it? That's where almost everything, that's why they have a difficult time hitting that. Number one, the face is square, you're using the bounce. You turn the face in, you got no bounce. So you're going to get a cutting sensation. So I see people like this, and they stand up there like this, and they got the strong grip over here, and they got the face like this, and then they swing. Oh, I can't do it. Oh, that was a beautiful swing, went right at the target. But the ball was 100 yards from the target. It was a perfect swing. So what do I have to do to adjust that? If you come into a person that insists on gripping it like this, then you got to lay the face over there so that your right hand more or less matches the face of the club. So I stand up there like this, and I swing. Where'd the ball go? Pretty straight. But you can manufacture a way, you know, that's the 1 minute lesson for a person. But that, you know, I don't like to do that. I want them to be more fundamentally sound. But the biggest problem with playing the ball back is that the face should always be at 12 o'clock in relationship to the shaft. When you hit the golf ball with a full swing, where is your shaft? It's vertical, and the face should be perpendicular. So it's 12 o'clock. And the more you do that, the better. I can't stress that. So when I'm standing up here, my face is always between 12 and 12. Sometimes I might sit it because I want to get a lot of hand in there for a reason, and I don't want that club face to close down. Because I want the other part of it is how I control the trajectory. There's three basic trajectories: low, neutral, and high. And then there's other versions also. But it's like the years ago when Tiger made that commercial where he put the ball through the 3 windows. It's controlling your trajectory. How did he control that trajectory? He controlled it by his address position. Did he put the ball back? Not necessarily. He changed his body position. So I set up like this, a little lower. I may square up my stance. I'm going to lean a little bit left like this. So that automatically promotes the club being higher here and lower there. So I get a lower flight. All right. If I want to get a higher shot, this is the only part of the game where golf is really not an opposite. With a 7-iron, you need to strike down in order to knock the ball up. You need to put underspin. What you do here is you're not spinning the ball very much, so you're controlling the elevation by the angle that the club comes into the ball. So if I want to hit the ball high, then what I do is I get my weight back on the right side. I pull my back foot off the target line a little bit, back the shaft. See, I've increased the loft considerably, but where's the face still pointing? Right at the target. Perfect shot with dead underspin. It's high, about as high as you can hit it. Now, that's all anybody needs to really learn, unless you're professional. But everything is a version off of those shots. It's basically those 3 for trajectory, 3 for spin. Or the right windows for a little spin to the right, a little left, a little left. You can do all those. I actually have a lot more than that, but they're toys. You don't use them 99 times out of 100. So again, when I'm teaching somebody, what I try to do is to try to get them to be accomplished at one area. I want them to pick out, I want them to know that they can do that trajectory and that where the ball lands. I know it's going to roll that much. And they can do that 4 out of 5. They're going to go from being a 15 handicapper in a short game to a 3 or 4 handicap very, very quickly by only knowing one shot. So you don't have to show them all these different shots. But basically if I swing a pendulum like this, it's going where? It's going distance back and forward. Okay. Now, see, I'm going high, so that's going to hit the ball. If I tilt it the other way, now I'm going low. High to low will drown. Low to high will hit the ball high. So, doing this, that to be able to go at the target, I'm more open like this to be able, because where am my body much farther through? I'm a believer that the horizontal, you have to swing a little bit farther. Swing the vert a little bit farther. You go back quite as far direction, the sequence that you get the biggest thing in every field and putt is that sequence of the, these shots start with my lower body, not with my upper body. I want my lower body to start my handle, and then I kind of get a whipping sensation, so I get a low sensation. Now, I don't care if you go from side to side, you swing the pendulum, you swing it from there to there, that club takes the same amount of time as it does from here to there. The farther you swing it, you think it takes longer. It doesn't. So this is another thing that we use here. This is a metronome. And this is set on, oops, I'm sorry. 66 beats per minute. This is the biggest, most successful teaching aid that I have ever used in my career. Right here. It's a $30 item. Digital metronome. I try to make I try to teach people to do this. And I'll even stand out there in front of them making practice swing, and they go like this. Ready, 1, 2, swing, swing. Now I want them to tap the club to that rhythm so that they just don't walk out and go like that. I want them to get their, that's part of the pre-shot. So I'm ready. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that I get that even tempo. Now, people say, well, no, that can't possibly work. Okay, I'm going to hit the ball right here to this second ball. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to hit the ball 5 feet on the green. Ready. 1, 2, 3, 4. That wasn't even a good shot. Now I'm going to hit the ball up to the hole in the fly. Ready. Tap, tap, swing, swing. Now I'm going to hit the ball up to the second pin. Ready. Tap, tap, swing, swing. Hit the ball, third pin. Max power for me. Get to that. Ready. Tap. That's pretty good control of the distance. That's the thing that happened in every one of those.
Exact same time.
They took exactly the same amount of time. That's one of the both things that you can do. It's like your car. Running in time, you know you're not driving it. It ain't gonna work. So you want to get that swing. So what people say, oh no, you gotta go back swing. So they go ready, tap. I like the rhythm. So what it was when I did that? What was stiff? I was trying to stack. So like this and get them. Make your feet have some the feet and those feet. Make it close every tour. Drop and swings. There are so how the ball speed. You have a lazy finger there. That ball repeat. Where to stop elevation. And play conditions like every day. You have it. Learning ball walk. Most of the two spin balls is on the ball and the size of speed and contact. Before you do ball, but so if the first you make caddy gets to the ball before you or your partner just have a. That's the main reason I quit playing the tour because my caddy retired. His name was my guy. Every piece I had a opening. Teaching, that's the first part I had because I've been out in the. Now, if I want my normal shot to hit it to this piece in there, like it to that speed, I went a little. I need to swing and the wrist for shaft, slow. Those that I talk about. It's not with that speed, but I did that there. If I have a really tight hurt, people say, well, how are you going to hit this shot? You're going to play it back. I'm going to hit it just exactly like I did. Bit. But if I shot correctly, that's perfect. So I actually do is off the heart. I use the button. I yaw toe. So that's the basic premise. I can hook the ball, cut the ball, do all that. And most of that's for show. It's not for anything else. If I hook the ball's going to go low. Like if I wanted to adjust this club here and I had to take this wedge and go to the second pin, I want to carry it past that ball on the left there about 3 or 4 feet. And I hit it just like that, see? That's why you use a putter. I haven't played golf in a long time, so I'm very much like the average person right now. That's perfect right there. I knew that ball there But that ball would end up there. With just a normal shot. But that's what you need to do. You need to know, okay, if I land the ball there, where's it going to end up? That's all. That's the thing that I can try to impress on you the most. Now, I can change that. Close the face down. Swing inside out. Look how much farther that ball rolled. I can do that, but that's, you know, that's a very unusual circumstance, but that's what happens to most people because they don't know how to get the deflection off the ball. They always make the swing go towards the target and the ball's way over here. So, all right. Does anybody have any questions about this part of the game? Yes, sir.
When you were setting up there, it looked like your hands were set up behind the ball.
They're straight up and down for a neutral shot, behind it for a high shot, and slightly ahead for a low shot.
Okay, for other clubs though, like pitching wedge or 9-iron or 8-iron, do you set up with your hands in the same spot, or you get your hands a little bit ahead of the ball?
No. There's an area that in other words, if I was going to lift a weight, where would I lift a weight?
Right in the middle.
Right here. Right where my belt buckle and my belly button should be. I'm guessing, but that's where it should be. So I'm like this. All right, that's where I have the most strength. I'm out here, I'm off balance. I'm up here, I'm off balance. So what I do is I stand square here, open here, and where's my hands? They're still in the same position, aren't they?
Well, to your body, but
Now the ball is right here, so I've rotated my body, my lower body, so that my shaft is straight up and down, but my hands are centered on my body, and I'm rotated up into my left leg slightly. So my hands always follow that. I hit it high. Now where's my belt? Behind the ball. So where's my hands? They're not up here. If I was up here, I couldn't hit the ball. Joe, it's nice to see you. I haven't seen you in a long time, Joe. Joe went from being an old golf craft player to a cart salesman, and he found out where the money was. Scott, yes, sir.
Did I hear you right? Did you say that if you have a tight line, you want to use the net, you use the toe a little more?
I use the toe, absolutely correct. I use the toe for two reasons. Number one, if I hit the toe, how does the club work? This way, so it always keeps adding loft, never de-loft. I use the heel, the club flops this way and flops closed. So, I'm exactly the opposite of way most people use wedges, most people make wedges. They all want no heel on their wedges so they can get down there nice and tight like this. I can get there twice as tight here as they can, and I'm never gonna lay the sod over. Never gonna. I mean, that's right down the divot there. Comes right out every time. All you gotta do is control the bottom of the swing. How do you control the bottom of the swing? By getting the ball in the right place. Getting your hands in the right place. That's important. Now I can dial the amount of flange that I want by tilting the shaft a little bit. But most of the time I don't necessarily do that. The secret to a good club is how high the front edge is off the ground. Doesn't make any difference what the bounce angle is. All this stuff about 12 degrees, 14 degrees, 50 degrees, it doesn't make a hoot of anything. All that matters is how high this is off the edge of the ground. If this is way off the ground like that, I'm going to blade every ball. If it's like this, I'm going to dig the ground every time. We were out club fitting John Holt, or JB Holmes. He's unbelievably strong. 8-iron, 175 yards. 5-iron, 230. 190 ball speed. The biggest, hardest divots I've ever seen in my life. I have never seen anybody take a divot like this. His approach with a 5-iron is more than anybody else's approach with a wedge into the ball. It's so steep. So what you had to do is had to put like 12 degrees of bounce on it. 5-iron, so that because he was coming in at 9 degrees, 9 degrees is very steep for a wedge. Most people are coming in at 5 or 6. But he's coming in at such a steep angle that the club fitting him, you had to put a special flange on there with extra bounce, but you had to get the lip down, so you had to put the bounce on there so that the lip wasn't too high. But your lip on a good wedge should be about 225 thousandths, 220, 25 thousandths, never more than 250. A lot of that. So people with the wider flanges, you can't have as much bounce because it makes the front edge too high. So, but the amount of bounce has nothing to do with it. It's how high the front edge is off the ground. Because I can take it off of any lie here. I can step on this ball and get it out of that hole with this club. Because the toe sets this part of the club sets about 210 thousandths off the ground. Yes, sir.
So are you setting up with the heel off the ground, or are you?
Yes. I'm putting as little of the club into the ground as I can. I want only the toe to hit the ground. So I'm hitting the ball on the toe also, which allows it. That's why the ball's coming out there with a cut shot.
Are you doing that on your chipping too?
Yes, I'm going to get into that in just a minute. I'm going to go through the chipping. But that's a very good question. But I don't lay the face open, because if I lay the face open, then I increase the amount that the front edge is off the ground. All I do is I just regulate it like that. So now it's sitting a lot tighter. But again, controlling where you hit the ball is important on the club. You should hit the ball right in there right about the 4th groove. If you hit the ball higher than that, the ball's not going to go anyplace. If the ball rolls up the club face, it's not going to go anyplace.
The bottom of the ball or the center of the ball on the course? Bottom of the
Where
ball.
you can press the ball on the face.
Okay.
These are a little lower because I'm hitting it off on dirt. So it's going to be a little lower, but that's still where the meat of the club is. So that's what we're more or less at. But as long, even in the tightest of lies, I can still get that ball up on the 2nd or 3rd groove. So that's the other thing. Now, the only other thing that I have to say about this before I move on is that I like to be close to the ball because I want my swing to be as vertical as I can get it. When I go in the bunker, I want my swing to be as horizontal as I can get it. But the reason that I don't like to use the heel is because when I'm down here, now look how much farther I am away from it. So my swing is around in too much of a circle. And when you do that, there's all kinds of pro and con about this. All the new stuff, the 1-plane swing, the 2-plane swing, the 11-plane swing, whatever. It depends on how big your Air Force is. If you only can afford 1 plane, then you're on the 1-plane swing. But if you take this club like this and you swing this vertical, how long is that face pointed towards the target?
Always.
The more I go like this, where is it pointed towards the target? Only 1 point. So if you made this into a Ferris wheel and I hit the ball where the ball was back in my stance, where would this Ferris wheel be pointed? Where would the ball come out? It would come out way over there. Where would it come out there? Straight. Where would it come out here? Over left. If I swing it here, if it comes out there, it's going straight, goes straight there, and it goes straight there. Well, in my mind, the more upright you can swing with your short game, the more effective you're going to be. Yes, sir.
Do you always release your left side, or you like to hit and hold at all, or
There's all kinds of toys. You can have all kinds of shots.
your standard shot you like to release your left side?
I never want to restrict the shaft, or the club head from finishing the swing. If I cut it off, it takes what to cut it off? Tension. I don't want tension. I want tension out of your upper body. I have never seen anybody that's any good that has tension in their upper body in the short game. Best players are always the the softest. The arms, there's always the arms and shoulders, the chest, the back, everything is all just like, you know, when you're walking down the street, you know, you'd be cool like this. That's the way when you see somebody like that in their short game, you keep their phone number. They're going to be coming to see you, or they're going to give you some extra cash when you need it. That's a good question. Yes, I do cut it off. But still what I try to do, even when I do that, I have more arm swing, less club swing, but it's still the same size from side to side. It's just much firmer, but the pressure stays constant. Whereas this way, it's a lot softer. I'm holding the club just very gently in my finger palms. Actually have a tendency towards opening up like that. And if I want to spin the ball, it needs to be more like that. But I try to control my spin. There's a lot of situations where you can't spin the ball. There's a lot more when you can't than when you can. So, you know, I'm for letting the elevation of the ball make the ball stop. I drop the ball like that, no spin, didn't roll. Down like that, I can put all the spin on in the world. It'll never stop. When I can tell when I think somebody is good. This is my opinion. Now, but when I see somebody that knows what they're doing, this ball will take a bounce of about a foot and a half. And start rolling. Finally get one straight. But and if I try to spin the ball, you know, I have to have it say, you know, I have to have a nice firm lie like that. How far was that bounce? What was the speed of the ball? The speed of the ball doesn't register with the spin because the ball is going too fast, so it's never going to stop. It's going to keep going. Now that's not to say you don't use those shots. You know, like the shot that who was it? I think it was Craig Barlow yesterday on 17 at Riviera. Had the pin just over that ledge, about 8 feet over the ledge. You drove it in there, you hit the bottom of the ledge, skip, take a long bounce, stop. Those guys are hitting it up in the air over the ledge. A lot of times it's coming back down below the ledge. Because they get too much spin. That's not controlling your ball. But that is a shot, yes. But it's not a shot that you would play very often. At least in my book. That's what I would choose to do. I know that I can control my ball 19 out of 20 times. And I know exactly what the trajectory is going to be, where it's going to land, and how much it's going to roll. And that's where I separate. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
How do you execute that, Scott, that has like 2 skips and then stops?
That's an easy shot. That's the shot that everybody hits. It's a shot that everybody hits. But you have to be able to have enough speed to do that. You have to have real firm turf, and you have to have a lot of speed. The guys that can hit the ball like that, where you can hit it 2 bounces and stop, those are the guys that can control their spin. Whereas if you hit it 2 skips or 1 skip or 3 skips and then it like that, you want to stay around those guys because they're going to hit some shots in there. They can't get to the pin. But there is a way to do that. But you're never going to do that here very often. You have to have ideal situations. And you have to have very sharp grooves. But see, that had a lot more spin on it. And that was a firmer shot, but I didn't have a lot of wrist and didn't hold it or anything like that. I don't want holding. I want it to be all the same. But the club is always in front of me, always moving around. Okay. Any other questions? Let's take a 5-minute break and get something to drink.
Okay.
When we stop it.
All right, dude. This is going to be chipping, and I've covered a large part of it already. But the chipping motion is exactly like putting, with the exception of the ball position and the shaft position. And we're talking about how the ball's played up here. Every ball with the exception of chipping is played in almost exactly the same place, from a pitch shot all the way to a driver. They're all played between the inside of the left shoulder and the left side of your face. It's about a 3-inch area. We did where I used to teach at a place called Grand Cypress in Orlando. I hope my voice makes it. We studied like 100 players, top line players, and broke them all down in sequence. The largest fluctuation of a ball position is like a little less than 3.5 inches. And that guy was big. And the smaller the person, the less it changes. Now, why is that? Because of where the ball goes a little farther forward, because the swing gets more horizontal rather than vertical as you get farther away from the ball. Putting and chipping are the two shots that you play that are the closest to your feet. So they're a lot more vertical and a lot more parallel than what you're doing. Now, I've already given you the ratios, the combinations, whatever you want to call them, to chipping. But every ball that I chip, I play, instead of off of the left arch to the heel, I play every ball off of the inside of between here and the center of basically the center of my shoe. I don't very often get back to the center of my shoe. I try to play all these balls right off the inside of my right foot. My right foot is again perpendicular to the target. My left foot's turned out. There's 4 things that I profess in chipping. The ball is back. The hands are forward. The weight is forward, and your head is forward. Of the 3 parts at the last, which one do you think is the most important? Your head. You can have your weight to the left, you have your head back here, you're going to scoop the ball. The biggest problem with people when they chip is that they tend to lift the ball instead of get the ball with a descending blow. So you want to try to get them to get set up so that, I'll try to do this so everybody can see, the ball's there. And what I use is when we did the putting on the high-speed film, the ball position fluctuated less than 1/2 inch away. It was between 10 and 10.5 inches. There was one or 2 guys that were 11, but nobody was more than 11 inches away from the ball, and 10 inches. So this club is about 3 inches long. So it's basically a little longer than that, about 3 1/4, something along those lines. If I take 3 of those, that comes out to roughly 10 inches. So I go 1, 2, 3, place my right foot. I don't have any white paint, but what I do is I paint a T here where it's parallel to the target. I have a line here where the right foot goes right on the inside. The inside of the right shoe goes right on that white line. And then the left foot, the stance is slightly open. The whole body is rotated out in front here so that you aim in front of the ball. Again, if you go back to, you want to hit the ball high, where do you keep your upper body? to the right. So that you get up here. You hit the ball low, you keep your upper body up here so you get a descending blow. So you want to keep your head and your sternum, and as well as your belt buckle, belly button, whatever, aimed out here, approximately, not far ahead. And when I'm set up here, there's a center of this triangle. And I haven't talked about the triangle today, but the triangle is here and it's set up there where the shaft always stays in that triangle. That triangle's always tilted forward of where the ball is, never behind. The triangle is based with the shoulders and the arms coming into the weightlifter's position. That triangle's always tilted a little bit like that. Now, it's going to be tilted like that here with everything here is looking down at that ball so that I'm facing left. Then the stroke goes up, down. Oh. Can't get a break. I told you this was an offensive shot. You didn't believe me. I can chip better from this distance than I can putt any day of the year. Any time. For my entire career, I can do that. I hit the ball cleaner doing this than I do. And I chip in a lot more from 30, 35 feet. Now, what I did there, by placing my ball back, hands forward, weight forward, head forward, and rotate it out in front of the ball like this, so that everything is facing left, is I promoted an automatic descending blow on this shot. I used to be a lot more adamant because my mentor, while running, used the opposing hand's grip like this. And his idea was that the full swing is basically three levers: your body, your arms, your wrist, and the shaft. Your wrist move the shaft. In putting and chipping, he wanted one lever. He only wanted arms, no wrists, no nothing. Basically, you isolate your body. You just swing your arms back and forth, no wrists, no hinging. What he encouraged was when he got set up here, and he set up, he would have about an inch here, 2 fingers. You know, it's everything that I predicate on is a fifth or 2 fingers or whatever. Everybody has to have an image. Mine isn't very good. But, and then as you swung, that never changed. It became, in my teaching career, a lot, or very frequent, that no matter what I did to these people, that I couldn't get that to be that stabilized. So what I did is I made them bow this left wrist. So you got 2 bows like this, one like this, where the shaft goes into your arm here. And hit the ball like that, where you keep the shaft in your arm. We had in our school one time, we had Bill Murray there several times. First time that I showed him his chipping, he would stand there like this and he would flash that shaft like that every time. So I tied it to his arm. I taped it to his arm like this and made him go inside and have lunch with the shaft attached to his arm like this. And that was the perfect deal for him because he likes that kind of stuff. So he's like, hey, look what Phil did to me. I can't get this out, you know. He's going to make me eat like this. So But anyway, the firmer you can keep this, the better. Like I said, running allowed some space there. I learned it with space there. I have space there myself. I'm not sure that that's the best way to do it because I've seen a tremendous amount of people that can't. But the basic premise here is to try to get this to be a one lever stroke. Now, to get back to your ball back and your hands forward, and now I've de-lofted this club, haven't I? So I made this into a less loft, so my trajectory is always going to be low. And it's going to come out nice and straight because my face is perpendicular and my stroke is back and forth to the target. So I'm set up here, my face is there. The biggest problem when people get their hands like this, they get their hands that far in front of the ball, is that the face does this. So when I come into the ball, I had cut spin. Stroke was straight back and straight through, but I had cut spin. So what I try to do here is I try to get it so that when I make contact with the ball, that the stroke is such and the contact with the ball is such that the stripe that wasn't all that good. When it hit the ground, it kind of spun off. But try to get it to spin underneath as much as I can. The better you control the spin, the better your motion. One of the there's 2 or 3 props that I use, and you've probably seen them in magazines or something like, take Golf Digest or Golf Magazine or whatever. Because everybody teaches this now, or most everybody does. They're all too long. This won the tip of the year a few years ago. Golf Magazine. I put that tee there like that. Put the ball here. Put the ball here. The guy that invented the drill didn't know that we've been doing this for 40 years. No big deal. But this is twofold here. This keeps your club going at the path. It should be about, if you're really good at it, 10 inches behind it. Most people, about a foot. Once you get your set up here, ball back, hands forward, weight forward, head forward, up over the ball. And the ball hit the tee, that's why it kicked out. But you see what happened to the club? It stopped. So you want to make sure that you hit that tee. The more you hit that tee, the better off you're going to be. Okay, who wants to be a guinea pig? Come ahead. What's your name?
Rick.
Rick. You'll be sorry, Rick.
I was
Don't be nervous because it's getting close to lunch and I'm really getting hungry. I'm going to take a big bite. Okay, now I want you to get set up here. Now I want you to move closer to the ball. Closer. That's good. Now put your weight to the left. Hands to the left. Move your shaft forward. All right, swing over the back ball and hit the ball. Okay, now you feel the club hit the tee there?
Yeah.
What did it do? It stopped you from releasing that club, didn't it? That's the biggest sin that you can do in the short game is in the chipping, putting, is to like that, to flip that thing. And so if you use that tee, something like that, you can use a board, you can use anything back behind it, but I use a ball. We have more balls than we do boards. And so that when you hit that shot, you see he hit that tee. Well, now probably 9 out of 10 people will totally miss that tee. They'll either hit the ground 2 to 3 inches behind it and bounce over, or not hit the ground at all. But you want to make a conscious effort. Now set your club right behind the tee there. Move your hands forward. Put your weight to the left.
You knocked me over.
No, not. Move your knees forward. Ah, it's very easy now, isn't it? Huh? Put your hands up here a little bit more, move closer to the ball. And you see, that's almost exactly the same position that he would be in if he was putting. Except that, yeah, this triangle's all aimed out here in the front. Club face is pretty square at the target. You need to get your head up here so you're looking back at the ball. All right, now swing back over the ball and then hit the tee. Oh,
You got it.
now, yeah, but you made way too long a backswing. The backswing only has to go back about 14 inches. That's better. Now you hit the ground behind it. That's better. That's better. That's better. That's good. That's perfect. That's it. You see how he's moving the triangle forward? And see what you want to do is you want to have a little bit of rotation here. You let your body rotate. You let, especially your trunk, because you want that triangle to keep moving in front. You don't want the triangle to move out here like this. Okay.
I think I lost the tee.
Yeah, no, you didn't lose the tee. You just covered it. Get closer to the ball. Get your hands up here so the club sits up on the toe. Get your face square. That face is right at the target. Do you believe that? Let go.
Well, not right now.
Let go. Go back there and tell me where it's going.
Right at the target.
It's amazing. It's amazing. I mean, people do not get the point there. They really do not. They do not understand when that face is at the target, and that's one of the hardest things to do. Get your hands forward and get away from your body, so you can get some room. Get your head a little forward. Okay. Now, see, he hit behind it. Why did he hit behind it? That's a perfect example of what we've just been talking about. Why did he hit behind that ball? Which way did his head go? So that's right. He moved right instead of moved left. So you got to set your head left. You got to swing left. Let your head go forward to the left. Get your hands forward. Hands forward. Get closer to the ball. Okay. Oh, perfect. Perfect. Now his head didn't go back that time, did it? You see that triangle stayed in front, whereas the shaft caught up with the triangle on the previous one. See what I'm talking? Okay, that's fine. And you did it perfect. We're not going to charge you too much for that.
Well done.
Yeah. Now, see what you want to be able to do is you swing forward. See that triangle's always going to stay in front of that shaft. When the ball that he missed, the shaft caught up with the triangle. So the more we keep this triangle there, you see my body's rotating in there, but the triangle's got to stay forward. That triangle and the shaft never really want to change angles. I don't want to increase it. I don't want to decrease it. I want it to stay constant. In that fashion right there. So the more I can get this ball on the descending blow, I get it every time. Then I'm gonna get the kind of results that I'm looking for. But this shot here is exactly the same. Did everybody hear that? What was the routine that I had set up for pitching?
Tap, tap, tap.
Yes. Some people tap more. Remember Sergio used to tap about 500 times before he took it back. must have learned how to count a lot. When I went to Houston, like I said, you couldn't count past 5, so I can only do a maximum of 5. Ready, tap, tap, swing, swing. Same rhythm, same tempo. Everything is exactly the same. You practice that, you work this out right, you get the concession on these. You get it set up, ready, tap, tap, swing, swing. You get so good at it. What I do is I get groups. I teach groups of usually 8 to 16 people. And I get them out, I get out there, and from my old days of being in the Marine Corps and having the drill instructor beat on me all the time, I'm a frustrated drill instructor. So I stand out there and I get them all out there with the balls. Okay, ready, tap, tap, swing, swing. When they first start out, there's 8 people, there's 8 different sounds of the ball. In a matter of 5 minutes, every one of those is one loud walk. Everybody gets that down. Everybody gets that down. And it's amazing when they swing to the right spot, the ball just starts going in there. They start chipping balls in like clockwork. It's so simple. But if you get that rhythm down and get the setup, you got to get the setup first. Lock them in the setup. Now, I don't care whether you use, I'm getting soft in my old age, whether you use a fairly, I use a 10-finger grip to putt and chip with. Running did, he used the reverse, overlap like this. He used the putting, but it was a putting grip. But I happen to choose 10 fingers. I think 10 fingers is actually a plus in this part of the game. And the people that I teach that do this are all way above average chippers. And they all use basically that same grip. But that doesn't say that you can't do it with a regular grip. But the biggest problem is, see, people keep wanting to sole this golf club. This golf club is made to be about 25 inches away from your feet. So how do I get close? See, when you came over, where was he gripping the club? Out at the end. So, when you're gripping it out at the end here, and I got this club flat, well, I'm this far away from the ball. So what's my swing going to be? In a circle like this, so all I could do was lay the side over the ball. So what you got to do is you get down on the bottom. I have people that get down on the steel or the graphite, like this. So they get really up here close to it, like this. But you want to get as close as you can to the ball. Get your stroke to be straight back and through as much as you can. Get the club to rest on the toe, and it's the same thing that Scott was asking me about earlier. Why do I have it set on the toe? Because if I hit the toe, the shaft continues to move. If I hit the heel, like he did, the shaft stops. And the face shuts down, or I hit the ball fat. Plus, if I do this and I hit this in the ground, this is off the ground, this continues to move, and so I don't hit the ball. I usually get a lot more ball. When you're playing out of the rough or something like that, we don't really have any rough here, but say we're in this kind of a lie here, that's down. Well, what I try to do is I try to get them to measure the club to the ball. I never want them to push the club down like that. First of all, that's quasi-cheating. Second of all, the ball's liable to roll. But I always, Mr. Runyon always told me, he said, always under reach. What does under reach mean? You hold the club where you want to strike the ball like this. If your lie is down, you always measure the club to the ball, never to the ground, unless the ball is on the ground. Now, if I'm in this divot and I'm set up, where's my club? It's on the dirt. Get the same kind of a contact with the ball. I get the heavy grass. I get as little grass as possible here in this lie. I get as little grass as possible, so I'm right there. So I get exactly the same results. Carry time to ground time. I mean, the carry time to ground time that Scott asked me about is almost identical from long grass or the tightest of lots. Because I'm getting the same contact with the ball. So the thing that I would do is if a person wears a golf glove, I say, okay, take the badge, aim the badge at the target, number one. Point the badge down towards the ground, number two. Then your shaft is forward, you de-lock the glove is faces square. Keep the badge facing the ground. See this? There's room for more. I know you guys don't fleece your members or anybody like, you wouldn't do anything like that. You're right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. So I was going in. That's my story. I'm sticking to it. You see where I'm hitting the ball right in the same place that I want to hit it with all these other shots. You hit the ball in the middle, you address the ball on the outside third of the blade. Don't set the blade out flat on the ground. If I hit the ground, the whole club stops. Sit on the toe, yeah, it has a tendency to twist. It doesn't do like that, but it will do that. So, hands forward, weight forward, head forward, ball back. Set the triangle so that the triangle, measure the center of the triangle from your chin, through your sternum, through your belly button, through your belt buckle. 7, 8, 9 inches out in front of it. The more the merrier. I mean, you're not going to go way up here like this to hit this shot. So you just make sure that your weight is firmly on the left. This shot is 65 to 75% of the weight on the left side. Any questions? Okay, Shawn's hungry.
Okay. Everybody, the food's over where we checked in. We'll eat here for about a half hour, and then when we get done with lunch, we're going to go down by the instruction center. We're going to talk about putting down there. We'll move the chairs down there for you guys. So just come on over for some food.
Mr. Rodgers.
Will come apart in the green. The base underneath the putting green will lose its form, and you won't have perfect putts anymore. So it's very important to build them correctly, and I'll explain the whole process from start to finish for you. The first thing that we did was we prepared this area to get it set up. We went down about 6 inches of ground, came out. And that's a normal installation process. We go about 6 inches down. In some cases, if the soil is bad, we have to go a lot deeper than that to find hard, compact soil. The next thing that we did is we revised the sprinkler system around this. This does not require water, so it's the outside that requires water. There's sprinklers set up on the outside of the surface, and all the water is spraying in that direction. If any water continually hits the surface, the water doesn't hurt it. It's the hard water that hurts it and will leave oxidation stains on the turf. So you want to set it up correctly. The next thing that we did is we put a French drain that wraps around this whole entire thing. The water table under here is wet. There's a lake bed over there. We don't want any water coming underneath our putting green. The base under here has to stay as hard and as dry as possible. That's how you make them last. So we got a state-of-the-art French drain around this whole thing. After that, we put down a gopher mesh. We put down gopher mesh on every single project we do. If the customer says they don't want it, we still put it down anyway. One gopher can ruin your entire putting green. Just one hole. If you got one hole underneath your putting green, you basically, you could cut a patch out, but then you see the patchwork, and you basically have to redo the whole surface if you wanted it to look good. After the gopher mesh goes down, we bring in a material called Class 2 road base. It's what they put underneath roads. It compacts to 100% like concrete. And what we do is we form the general undulation of the putting green with it. As you can see here, that's the highest point of the green, and it flows down to here, to that side, and then this side flows down to here. Everything here flows out into the French drain, and then goes into the French drain and out. Setting up the undulation, we can set it up to custom specifications. You can have it very undulating, or you can have a flat green. High-level golfers sometimes like to put in flat surfaces because you can tell what's happening with their stroke easier. But I like putting in putting greens with some flat areas and some challenging areas. So you can see, if you get a putt from right here to this hole, you get a nice left to right putt. Coming back, right to left. We can basically set it up however the customer wants it to be set up. And before we put down any turf, we'll get approval from the customer to make sure they're happy with the way the base is set up, because the base is like with the putting green. It determines the way the ball rolls, and you don't want to get tired of it. After the customer approves the undulation, we'll then roll the basketball on the surface, see exactly how it's breaking, and then decide where the tips are going to go. It's good to set them up so there's not a lot. Be able to hit from one cup to every other cup without another cup getting in the way. If you put too many cups out here, it starts to look goofy. The more simple you keep it, the better it is. After we get approval from the customer on the roll of the ball and cup hole locations, these cups get set into concrete, and then we put a pad down on top of the base. There's a lot of putting greens on the market that you can walk on. When you walk on them, there's no give. They feel like concrete. They're really hard. So to have a nice pad underneath gives it some real good cushion. When you walk on it, it feels nice. And it also helps with impact of the ball. You can hit balls into these greens from 200 yards out, and they bite. If it didn't have that pad underneath it, it'd be a lot less likely to hold. The pad is made out of urethane. It's not going to break down. The only thing that will cause it to break down is the sunlight, and it's never going to see the sunlight. The pad does not allow water to go through it, so everything drains off the top. And it's very important to set it up correctly for drainage, because we're installing these in people's homes. They have to be set up correctly. We don't want puddles in their backyards. So this whole thing is set up to drain to the sides, into the French drain, and out. After the pad goes down, we then put our turf down. This putting material here is called polypropylene. It's 1.25 inches long. There's about 1 inch of sand in here. That sand makes it more realistic. So you can put shots in to the green, like I said, and the sand absorbs the impact. Chip shots, pitch shots, they're very realistic. So the sand will, basically what happens is the ball comes in, the sand absorbs the impact, and then according to the spin of the ball will react to the fibers that are on top of the sand level, just like this. So if I were to throw that ball without any spin, and then you can do a lot of spin, so very realistic. Just show you real quick what a shot from 150 yards would look like. So they're great. We're building residential right now, but in the future we want to go big time and start building golf courses with these. Not necessarily fairways, but putting greens, because there's no maintenance. But back to the turf. So there's an inch of sand in here. You got the fibers on top. And what happens is you mat these fibers down on top of the sand level. The more you mat these fibers, the faster the ball will roll. Right now this putting green is rolling about 11 on the step meter. It's a little bit faster than what you'll find at most golf courses in San Diego, but I like fast greens. They're great for teaching on, and you develop a real smooth stroke putting fast greens. The average installation that we do in a backyard is about 9.5 on the step meter, but if you want, we can get them rolling 13. It just requires a hot day and a lot of rolling. We have about a 1,000-pound roller that we use to mat these fibers over. But you want to be careful not to get them too fast, because sometimes too fast is too hard. So, yeah, I could see these fibers right here? They're matted down, but if I wanted to slow it down, I would take a push broom and just simply push the fibers up. And that would slow it down. But the fibers do have a memory, so they're going to want to go back down. So once they go back down, you're going to have to push them back up again. That's why you got to be careful not to make them too fast to begin. As you can see, there's a lot of different materials here. The putting green is made up of a material called polypropylene, and everything on the outside is polyethylene. They're both plastic, but the polyethylene is a lot more resilient and wants to spring back up into its normal form, whereas polypropylene wants to mat over and have a memory and keep its position, so the speed will stay the same. As you can see here, we've got putting green, fringe, got first cut right here. These are all great to hit out of. You could hit some very nice chip shots out of here. And then over here we got a second cut rough. So we could basically build a golf course, an entire golf course if you wanted us to, with putting green, fringe, first cut, second cut. We can also build sand traps, pretty much all the features that you see on a golf course. But we're doing them in people's backyards, and they're just awesome. A lot of our customers have children that practice, that are looking to get good, and they're buying them for their kids so they can practice. Some are buying them for entertainment value. Some are buying the putting green strictly for looks, because they're beautiful to look at. You walk into your backyard, you see this, you don't have to do anything except take a blower occasionally and blow some debris off of it. So I'm hoping that all you guys put the good word out for our company. We try to do things as much as they can possibly be done. We try to treat our customers and their homes with as much respect as we possibly can. So I want you to be real confident when you refer us. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, George.
Green size cost?
Greens average at $14 a square foot. Lawns over here, if you're just going to do synthetic grass, they average at around $9 a square foot. This project here would be about a $20,000 project.
What installation time?
Well, this was an interesting job. It took a lot longer than I estimated it to, because when we got in here, the ground underneath was terrible. Because the way they set this up is they have French drains running all along to take the water out, and they run underneath the surface, and they're leaking water underneath the surface. We were 6 feet deep right here, taking out wet dirt. So I have an estimated time for each project. Like this one, my estimated time was about 2 weeks, but it took us about a week and a half. An average size project is 600 square feet. It's about 4 to 5 days. So, but we take as long as it need be to make sure every step of the way is perfect. More questions, please.
How long are the blades, individual blades on the green now? You say
These are 1.25 inches.
1.25 inches?
Yeah. This is 1 inch of sand right here. So when the ball's rolling, it's basically rolling on a sand level with fibers matted down on top of the sand. Yes, there is grain in this green. We try to make it comparable to grass, but the grain in this green is that direction. And the reason being, these fibers are very well protected with UV coating, and the UV coating makes the fiber shiny. And if you're looking at the back of the fiber, it's shiny. If you're looking at the front of the fiber, it's not as shiny. And I wanted the front of the fiber facing this way so it would look nicer. And I do homes too. I make the grain of the green usually point towards the home. But as you can see, the ball rolls very nice in this direction. Very nice in both directions. It's probably about 1 foot difference on the step meter from one direction to the next.
What's the life of the respective?
The turf has a 7, depending on the type of turf, 7 to 10 year warranty on it. The workmanship is guaranteed for 3 years, which is 2 years beyond the industry standard, which is 1 year. But this project I'm estimating will be here for 20 years. It's the sun. Sun is the main thing. So that's why shiniest every synthetic product you see. And you see it in nature too. Everything has that shine in it to protect it. So, thank you very much, gentlemen. Really appreciate it. Enjoy.
All right. After all, I'll probably never make a putt. I can't make it unless I have 4 or 5 worms in my way. But to start out with, you know, a lot of the things that we talked about this morning are involved in putting also. There is no real major difference in putting than the full swing. The difference is shorter, it's more precise. Speed is the most important part. You can't read the break correctly every time. You can't aim the ball correctly every time. You can't hit the ball correctly every time. But you can come real close to the speed every time. And the idea of putting is for the average person. The average person is over 2 putts per green. The main reason for 3 putts is not because of direction, it's because of speed. As we evolved in the putting end of it, putting has changed dramatically from the time I was a little boy 50 plus years ago till now. In my day, most of the putters had a tendency towards hooking the ball. Why would you hook it rather than cut it? Because you get more spin. The ball always has a tendency to get to the hole. Today's players, very few people hook the ball. Most people roll the ball very truly. And that makes for a lot more adequate putters, but the conditions that are out here now make it so that you can do that and be very, very accurate and consistent. People have a big advantage now, because when you went from one course to the 40 or 50 years you go from greens that were 7 or 8 to greens that are 10 or 11. Now you go from one golf course to the other, and the greens are all within a foot of the same speed. So you don't ever really have to work on your on your speed as much as you used to. And there's not as much change in the way you putt, whether you putt aggressively or you putt with like a cup high putter or four corners putter. Bobby Jones more or less invented the four corners putting method. What he did is he wanted the ball to go in the hole at a speed where if it any part of that hole it would go in. And I know there's been some studies. Some people say you need to be hit it hard enough to go 13 inches by. I don't ever want a putt to go by. I want it to go in. Well, I don't pay a lot of attention to that. The main thing that I do pay attention to is that when I hit the putt, if I hit the putt correctly, I know that I'm going to have a maximum of 2 putts. If I have a maximum of 2 putts on every, I get to keep every one of my 1 putts. I don't want to give away my 1 putts. Those are few and far between. A tour player averages, the top tour players average roughly 28 putts around. They're the only people that average under par. So again, and also today, the best athletes are the best putters. Why? That's a question. Does anybody have an idea?
Hand-eye coordination.
That's part of it. Deal. Huh? Well, yeah. But that's a train thing. That's more or less train. It goes right back down to the metronome. The best athletes do it the most consistently because they take the same amount of time. I have 2 prime examples from one of the times that we did a study on putting. We did 2 of the players that we did were Greg Norman. When we did this, he led the putting stats, I believe, for either 5 years. He was the number 1 putter on the tour. Every year that he was the number 1 putter on the tour, money winner. Stroke. When we filmed them, we filmed 4 lengths of putts: 4, 8, 16, and 32 feet. His strokes, when we broke them down with the high-speed film, his backstroke took 63 hundredths of a second on 3 out of the 4, and it took 30 hundredths of a second to impact from the end of the backstroke. The other one was 32 and 29. That's in hundredths of seconds. That's 25. Tom Kite's been chronicled for many, many years about, he changes putters, he changes grips, he changes everything. Tom Kite is a workaholic. Tom Kite's times fluctuated 2 or 3 hundredths of a second. Varying times that he took it back and the time that he was the impact. Not as good an athlete. But he worked hard, so he got away with it. But he's never going to be the putter that somebody like Greg Norman is. So Tiger Woods has been number 1, a tremendous amount of time. He's always up there. Why? He's a good athlete. He's a very fine athlete. All these guys now are much better tuned athletes. Can you imagine somebody out there, looking like this anymore? They don't do that.
Kevin Stadler.
Huh?
Kevin Stadler.
Well, huh? But that's just, There are a few guys, but most of the bodies are pretty similar now. They're really strong. Their nerves are all good. Everything is good, but not all these guys are good putters either. And part of the reason is, number one, that metronome. You get the timing down. If you get a person that works with that metronome, they're going to become a much, much better putter. And the other thing is, in the setups are very, very similar. Now, like I said, there's only like a half an inch fluctuation between the ball position and the putters. When we filmed them, you're standing up over the putt here, your ball was right here. The average ball was approximately 3 inches from the center of the shoe to the center of the ball. Nobody fluctuated more than a half an inch in either direction. The left foot had a very clear imprint. We filmed like 50 guys, and they're all in the same place, so they wore a hole in the green. The left foot was a perfect size 10D. There was no wearing on the edges or anything like that. The back foot was all over the place. The back foot fluctuated a lot. Somebody like me who used to putt like this. Some guys were like this. Floyd's very narrow. And but the ball position never changed. And there's been a lot of other studies done since we did this. And Scotty Cameron's one, TaylorMade has it, and there's a lot of people that have studied putting and the various strokes. Nobody really does they don't really do anything about the tempo of the stroke, the size of the stroke, they're just working on the more or less technique of the stroke. And they all hit putts basically the same distance. The ball, like here, if you're set up here, everybody rolls the ball a prescribed distance. No purpose. Every putt is different. Every single putt that you hit is different. No two putts are the same. They're not exactly the same. And so getting the ball to go at the hole the correct way is very important. But starting out, all these guys all do the same thing now. Notice every single one of these guys have been all around. They've been all around the green. They look at everything. They study the break. They look at the slope. They look at the green. And they're so exact now. They're trying to get the speed down. They have these little round discs that show how many degrees that the green tilts in certain areas. Like that now. They go out and they plot the pins. And they put it out there. They're so interested in speed, you can't believe it. The game is advanced so far. That's where the game is advanced more than equipment or anything else. Because these guys are so precise now. And how far they want to hit the ball. Whether it's a 5-iron, they carry it 186 yards or whatever. How fast it stops, trajectories and all that. And speed is more important here. But you see now, when I first played, first of all, he didn't have all these identification marks on the balls. You had the Spalding dot, they had a little dot on, the Maxwell had a little red circle on it, didn't have all these lines and everything. So it was really pretty difficult to find a place to aim the ball. When I played, what I did is I aimed the seam. The ball was 2 pieces. So I took the seam here, and I went around that seam. The reason that I went around that seam, I thought that was that part of the ball was sand. Whenever they put it in the machine, it was sanded, so I thought that was around this part. And then they came out where you floated the ball, and to see whether the ball was really centered. Well, all the balls are so much better now. I mean, you can't fit the ball, it doesn't work now. But there's a lot of identification. on it. But you see almost all of these guys now have a line on their ball. Everybody lines up the ball. They put a line there. How they put the line down is a personal preference. But and when you watch it on TV, you watch that line, you watch how that line just keeps going like that all the time when the ball goes in. They never show them when they miss. But the lines don't go in a lot of times when they miss. But when you set up like this, and I set up like this, and I set this down, now it's much, much easier for me to pick out the line, to match that line. So aiming the ball is very, very important. So if you can aim the ball, you will improve your putting. Most people don't aim the ball. But like I said, you watch the tour players now, the 144 players in the tournament, there'll be at least 140 of them aim the ball every time. They all aim the ball. Now, the other thing is, I know how far I am from the pin, and I work on the tempo of my stroke. All right, now this is slightly different. We found that when we filmed these players that on the backswing, the time of the backswing was totally different. There's Don Pooley, who's now on the senior tour. His backstroke took 99 hundredths of a second. Nick Price and Paul Azinger took like 40 hundredths of a second. The average is like 57 to 63. But there is still, that's a considerable fluctuation. From the end of the backstroke to impact, it came together like unbelievable. They were almost, everybody was almost identical. Everybody was between 27 and 30. Because at the end of the stroke, it takes a certain amount of speed and it takes a certain amount of mass to propel the ball at that distance. So everybody hit the ball with the same speed. It goes into the same thing we're talking about pitching and chipping. Everything is predicated on that. The forward stroke is usually about twice as fast as the backstroke because you're starting at zero and you're picking up speed and then it accelerates. But this is stroke, there's a lot said about putting. They hit through the ball, accelerate past the ball, do all the, you want to accelerate to the ball. The biggest problem with the average person is that they accelerate after the ball. They go back slow and then come in slow and then they accelerate out here. They don't hit the ball hard enough. You can take a 10 handicapper, 10 to a 15 handicapper and put him at 20, 30, 40, 50 feet. 20 feet, he will be close to the right distance with his speed. 30 feet, he'd be anywhere between 2 and 6 feet short. 50 feet, it'd be anywhere between 3 and 10 feet short. You can never hit the ball hard enough because they always try, the stroke is too slow. They don't have enough acceleration to the ball. So if I get the preparation here and I read the break and I do everything, then what I do is I say, okay, this is the stroke. So I'm going through the same process. What I want. Ready, tap, swing. I'm used to playing like a ball. about 5. He's trying to mess with me. He's telling me this thing about 820. Huh? How far I hit that? I hit that perfect line, but I didn't have any chance to make it. But I was really trying to do that, try to press on it. You know, I see people that actually putt the ball like that. They don't have a clue. They putt the ball 5 or 6, 7 feet from the hole. They hit it straight enough. But you hit it through the break or not break enough. So there's a lot talked about, not written about playing the break. And Dave Bell says nobody plays enough break. But what we commonly use here is a paintbrush. And the paintbrush is like as wide as that hole, and it goes down there like this, and it goes on in. There's not a putt that has enough break out here to really do that, but what you do when you're teaching people to read break, you feel it number 1 with your feet, number 2 with your eyes, number 3 with your color changes. And if you can't figure out where the high point is or where the ball's breaking, after that, you got a beer, spill a beer out, see which way the water flows. Just see which way the beer flows. That's down here. Now, in certain parts of the country, you know, the closer you get to the equator, the more the grass grows toward the setting sun. So, in this case, I already knew because I listened to Jordan do his presentation. I know the grain's always going this way. So because he likes the dark side walking upward. So I've already got that figured out. I don't have to do this, you know, to figure out which way the grain is. There really isn't a lot of grain anymore, especially in California, because it's all Poana. But when I'm set up here, this ball should jump left and right. You built this green. Tell me how much this putt breaks right.
Actually, when you get to the hole, it goes a little bit back to the left.
No.
It does? I can see it's higher over there.
Give it a shot.
Huh?
Try it.
I can see it's higher. I just wanted to see if you really... Where's the low place on this green? Is there a low place on every green?
There should be.
1, 2, or 3, maybe even 4.
Yeah.
Where the water flows. You always look for those. When you're walking up on the green, the first thing you do is you look at those. Try to find the low spots. Find the high spots. Look at the, because they never cut cups. But a week, you used to look at the way the grass grew into the cup and figure out the grain. Well, you can't do that anymore. But anyway, so I'm going to aim this just on the left side of the cup here. And I'm going to see whether you're correct or not. You broke left. See how it broke left? It's still fast. The grass hasn't grown between the last one I hit now. I don't have a slow enough stroke for this. That's embarrassing. I didn't even have caffeine for lunch. I didn't have any beans, so I don't have too much gas or anything. You know, I'm running on a full tank. But that ball actually did break left. So, but that just goes, you know, I would never have guessed, you know, the first hitting, I thought that would be that's a low point over there, but it's really not. So, but in order to do this, you know, that goes right along. I used to be able to read greens pretty well. But I can't pick out the break right every time. But I can hit the ball right, so I... 1, 2... This is way too fast for me. I don't want my ball going in the hole fast. I want my ball going in the hole like that. You know, I said, God, you gotta hit the ball. You gotta hit the ball hard. The two hardest, the most aggressive putters on the, in two of the most aggressive in the history of recent tournament golf have been Arnold Palmer and Tom Watson. Neither one of them can putt anymore. Because they putted so many balls past the hole and missed so many coming back that they, you know, they finally like Fearless Fawcett were shot full of holes. The putters that have putted well for a long period of time, the putters like the Ray Floyd, the Jack Nicklaus, and Miller, I mean, Leonard, 75 years old, he can still make it. He can still make it putt. They don't see as well, but they still can do it. But their program has never changed. They established the program, and they've never deviated from that. If you're an aggressive putter, you've got to stay an aggressive putter. You change. That's how you read the break. The speed of the ball has to do with the break. So that's the most important, is to get to establish a routine. A lot of people don't have that. You can teach that and be better putting instant. Thank you very frequently because of that. The better the putter, the better the speed. The whole idea here is to get the speed and the stroke. Now the stroke is such. The backstroke is not usually quite as long. They did a lot of stuff. You can question this or not, that's fine. But they proved on video that the forward stroke is about 9.5, or just 9.5. 6 inches back. 9 inches forward. Pretty much goes along with the twice as long back as the back to impact. You're having acceleration through the ball. But there's a lot of putters. Ben Crenshaw is one who has a fairly long, slow backstroke and a very short follow. His follow through is maybe a third of what his backswing is, because he doesn't release it. The big thing in putting now is you used to hit the ball. I hit the ball. I grew up in the green where you had to hit the ball. My mentor Paul Running was a hitter or a tap. I'm not a tap dancer, so I can't call him. But today, these guys stroke them. They have a lot more flow, where they have nice, even, steady acceleration, very much like a metronome. And I can't stroke it that way. I couldn't putt away. I'm not used to that. And I can still putt really well, but I haven't changed any of my program. And when I read the break, I'm reading the break at the speed that I want the ball to go at. Everything is predicated on speed. Find my high spot, where it breaks, where it's turning. And the only other thing that I really try to encourage people is right here, put a track here. That's pretty good. I put the ball through that. I got a good chance of making it. You lied. Ball break to the right.
I think you got some lumpy donuts.
Boy, that's terrible. breaking right now. I finally figured out the line, but you know, Nicholas used to have an intermediate spot right out here that he chose to line himself up here. What I try to do on a breaking putt, you know, I'm putting off this hill like this. I see that uphill to there, down, downhill, uphill to there. Pick out this spot. And I put my ball through those points like that, and then I visualize the ball from this point here going in at the correct speed. Or practice that, what I do is I pick out the high spot. Most everybody can pick out the high spot. You come very close to it. And you pick the high spot and then have them go over there and hit putts from that spot. In the hole. And then go over here and say, okay, put the ball through there now. Make the ball go through that spot at that same speed. They'll be able to do that usually quite quickly. No, that's a really good training tool. You make the ball go through a target here, that's going through here with the correct speed here, you got a good chance to do it. You don't have to do it if it's a straight putt, but if it's a breaking putt, it should always be an intermediate target. And that's the important thing. Now, as far as the setup today, players putt a lot straighter up than I do. You know, I always had a tendency when I putted that my nose just kept, the more it meant, the closer my nose got to the ground. And then my ball just would never get there because I couldn't hit it hard enough because my nose was in the way. But these players putt today, they putt up here much taller like this, and they have a tendency to keep their arms straighter and swing the club back in this position here. And what we've done is throw the change to the point. Take this 2-iron because it's never been hit before. I carry most of my clubs for looks, not for use. And you got your logo on your shirt or your sweater. You visualize that there, and you put that on there, and you take your setup, and your weight's going to be pretty 50-50, maybe a little bit left, not very often right. And you swing back and forth like this, and you feel at this point here not moving. So your hands are moving back and forth, but the fulcrum is up here. Now if you swing back firm like this, and then you, now what happened? The shaft no longer stayed in that relationship. So the shaft should always point at your logo. So say I was here like this, and I don't have a big logo here, a little long. It's the good C company though. The other one, count first. But anyway, so we're going to say it points at it points at the snake, just as a reference point here, because that's score. If I ever get this off, this should come right up to the snake there. And when I swing back, where's that shaft pointed? At the snake. When I swing through, where is it pointed? At the snake. No. 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 Yes. Yes. If you do that, you'll have, everybody will be envying your stroke. That's the way most of the tour players now putt. They putt that way. And that's the reason that the long putter became popular. The belly putter. I was the first one to ever use the belly putter in 1966. I had to quit using it because my stomach fluctuated too much, and it's against the law to have a sliding shaft. So I I eventually had to quit it. But still, the guys with the long putters or the belly putters, see, they're creating that same motion like this. The new grips and all that stuff, do this or that. They all work. But the main thing is if you keep that point there, you're going to do better. The guys that grip it like this used to have a hinge. Now they don't have a hinge, so it's still pointed at still pointed at that target. So you get a reference point there. Then you set the ball, and so this point has to be just behind the ball. So the shaft straight up and down. There's a certain amount of loft now on putters, basically 4 degrees with everybody's putter. And the reason that they do that is so that because the ball is down in an indentation, and so you need to lift it out of it. But the main thing is if you start with your hands here, you want to return straight up and down again. It's just like the pitch. Set my hands back. I'm going to return to that position. Set my hands over the ball. I'm going to return to that position. Set my hands forward. I'm going to return to that position. Shaft always returns to approximately the same position. Hands usually farther forward because there's more rotation and more forward weight shift. The hands always follow that. So that's the basic ingredients of putting. The stroke has a very slight inside, outside the face. Again, there's a lot of comment about this. The putter face wants to stay perpendicular to the shaft. What were we talking about over there? The putt face wants to stay perpendicular to the shaft. So there's no difference here than there is in your full swing. You keep the face perpendicular to the path of your swing, the ball's going to go straight. It's not going to curve. It may not go straight because you might not swing on that line. But if you do that, you're going to do fine. So, but again, putting is very individual. Putting is becoming much, much less. Almost everybody looks like they're out of the same mold. And the ball position is very constant. This logo thing is a virtual constant. You take 150 of the best players out there, 150 of the best players, that shaft's pointed right there. They don't ever let the shaft do this. They don't do that. They don't twist the face. They try to keep the face maxed up. The other thing is face balance putters. Face balance players, there's a patent on it. You can't have it actually face balanced. You have it tilt 1 degree like that. But the reason the face balance, now the face is not perpendicular to the shaft. That's perpendicular to the shaft. But I think that putters should be so that you can get more of this where the putter actually, the toe travels farther than the heel. I'm a end shaft putter. I cannot putt with the center shaft because I want the blade to have a little bit of swing open, a little bit of swing closed. But again, the whole thing is predicated on this, where I swing here. The line is inside, the face is to the right, but the shaft is pointed on that line. Return it to there, return it to there. It's still pointed, but the face is over here, so the face is always perpendicular. That's a big key. So all these guys that try to keep the face square and twist the face this way to hold the face on the line, never work as well. Any questions?
Got any drills you do?
Huh?
Drills you like to do? Any?
Well, my basic drills are actually not drills. I want you to. The biggest problem with putting people is just like golf. Carrying it from the practice tee to the first tee. Carrying it from the putting green to the first green. It's the same thing. The more you practice your course preparation, the better you're going to do. If you take the time to individually aim your ball and get that routine down, you're going to do fine. You see some tour players do that more than others, but most of the time they're working on just trying to get their. These guys all have good strokes. There's nothing wrong with any of these strokes. The biggest problem with these guys is that they don't aim it. And so if they use the ball. Now, one of the things that I do, like I have a tour player. He's not a good putter, and he put the line up here like this, and he put his putter down like this, and his putter would match the line, but when he came through, he was blank as to where he would hit it. He would not hit the ball on that line. He wouldn't make these lines match up. So what I did to him is I made him turn this line like this. Make it match. And then when he came in there, I wanted to make sure that he put that line on that line. He hit the ball on the toe. He misses most of his putts to the right. He hit the ball on the toe. And that immediately, he could never turn that ball over. He's fought me for 5 years trying to use the line. This is the first time that he's ever been able to make that line go like this. And we had to put it on the back. Just an accident that I thought of it. But it really made a lot of difference because he stood there like this and he swung back, hit that line. See, there's a four-corner putt. We have one end. You know, the idea is people say you hit the back of the cup. If you play with a third of the cup and I get to play with 4, I'm going to win. So I want the ball to go in like that. See, that ball was tracking reasonably well. But I hit the ball, you know, put his line on that line. Anything that you can do to make him do that, you're gonna be in a plus situation. And you know, if you put it down like that, everything is negative. One's going one way, the other's going another way. You put the putter down, I don't know whether I'm going right or wrong. So be precise. You know, get the break down, get the speed down, get the rehearsal down. The same thing we talked about earlier. Get the tempo. You know, visualize the ball going through the track there. Try to keep it going through that track. If you do that, you're going to have really good success. You're going to have a lot better success.
One more question, Phil.
What's that?
If the backswing is a different length of time than the through swing, how can you use a metronome? How does that work?
Because you're taking it from back to forward.
Back to the ball.
The total time from impact to back is like normally went 63, 30, which goes out to 93. Right. 9300 equates to that 64 beat. You know, there's some guys that stroke it a little bit slower, a couple guys that stroke it a little bit faster. Paul Asinger's stroke and Nick Price's stroke were the two fastest. They were very good short putters, below average long putters. Don Foley's above average long putter. and above average everything. That's it, the longer and the more rhythmic your stroke is, usually the better speed control you have. If I swing hard enough to make the ball go this distance and make it go that far, I got a lot of great. So I'm going to have a lot, a quarter of an inch difference in the size of the stroke can make a lot more difference out there. A quarter inch in the size of your stroke when it's going 14 inches and on the right tempo is not going to be as much. And that's a proven point. No, the whole idea is Greg Barber's tempo is actually 63. That's right there. 1, 2, 3, 4. And it doesn't make any difference whether it's a 50-footer, 100-footer, 3-footer. It all is the same. No, that's too slow for me. I don't like that. No, I like 65. 65 fits my stroke a little bit more. It did down in Florida because the greens are slower than they are here. Here it's probably 64, which is getting a little bit, nobody's going to tell the difference in that. But if you get that tempo down, you get that to repeat itself. Like I said, it's a proven. Nobody's been ever been able to disprove. The better the athlete, the more consistent the time, the better the results. So it's not placing it as swinging it. 1, 2, 3, 4. One on the left side, I'm not going to take it. But that's what you spend. And I would not give you a money back guarantee, but I would be willing to wager a little bit that if you use that tempo and you establish that time clock in your head, these guys establish that time clock in their head. They have a routine. They don't deviate from that routine. If you talk to any sports psychologist that deals with golfers, the thing that they want is continuity. The time that you take the preparation and the time it takes you to hit the ball, which should be the time, say, the first swing to the last swing. And what they found with some players is some players have a tendency to slow down in the middle of their round, or they speed up, or they get out of sync. The worst thing that can happen to most of these players is if they're getting timed, and all of a sudden they have to play fast, and they start missing shots because they get out of their routine. That's the fastest way to destroy somebody. Start talking to him a little bit, get him out of his routine. That's the easiest way to handle it. But if you get a person to stay in that routine, then you got it. They're going to do well. Is there any other questions? Yes, sir.
Oh, I'm here. I want to thank you.
He's from the chapter.
That's fine.
Fellas, my name is Doug Danovic, and I'm one of our chapter board members and an officer. And I just want to take an opportunity as a board member to thank Shawn Cox, one of our PGA members, and his partner Jordan Garrett for the opportunity to set this up. So I'd like everybody to thank both of them.
Yes, sir. Good job. They didn't have enough food, though.
Yeah.
Fed another 40 people.
Well, is there any food left?
There is.
So anyway, I would like to go ahead and wrap up. If anybody has any questions for Phil, go ahead and do that now. But we want to make sure we took our opportunity to thank both of you. And again, if you have any questions in terms of the product, make sure you get a hold of Shawn either through the website or give him a call at La Jolla Country Club. Thanks, Phil.
All right,
On behalf of all.
I hope I haven't bored you. As you can see,